Hello, world. I want to say hello to everyone. I hope I find everybody doing good and in a good spirit and keeping they're keeping their eyes on the prize. Today I wanted to touch on the path I took led me straight to penitentiary. You know, this message here is for to reach out to some youngsters that may not know what a road that they might be on gonna lead them to. And I hope I just be able to deliver in a major way to probably save some kids or some lost adult that's headed down the wrong road that I chose. You know, my road, it kind of consisted of like I didn't have to go take the road because I was all raised by a single parent. And she kind of like gave me pretty much everything I needed. But sometimes when you get everything you need, you tend to want to venture off and do other things that may not be sound as far as you just want to experiment and do some other stuff to just try to prove to the world that you hard, or prove to the streets that you hard. And I went down the road that led me to penitentiary. And I really know that I wasn't supposed to even be on the road because my mama set me up for superstardom because she gave me pretty much everything I needed. And by her being a single parent, she always did everything that she was supposed to do. But needs to say, I still chose the wrong path and went down that road. But my road consists of hanging out, drinking, smoking, selling drugs, and doing certain things that the average person in my community was doing. And I do know you don't need a resume to sell drugs. Anybody can do it at any age group, any level. But it didn't make me a man. It just made me just think like I was just doing what the average person was doing. But the people that was around me, they went to jail and did things and got out of jail and probably got back out and still went back to the streets and selling drugs again. So I just probably thought like it was a good thing, but I didn't know that it would set me up for a long road. So I chose the route and I ended up going to jail, man. They say jail, penitentiary. But it's all the same thing to me because you confined behind bars to where you don't have your freedom. But it kind of made me think and realize while I was there, but because it take your freedom away, it's really a serious blow because it's like you away from your family, loved ones, and people that love you the most. And it really messes with you mentally and physically because it's like you behind bars and people telling you what to do and making you work and do things that you probably wouldn't even do if you was on the streets. But to make a long story short, I think it made a man out of me, but the most part that really hurt me more than anything was to get a visit from my mother. And the people that I was in there with, the Alvin, Troy, Max. When I first made it there, I can remember I met a guy, Alvin, Troy, Max. I had been hearing about him in the streets all my life. I knew he was I considered like a real dude. And I always heard his name ringing because he did pick up a murder charge. So sometimes us people like as kids, male kids that don't have the guidance, we could tend to glorify guys in the streets, especially if they had credibility of killing people, selling drugs. That's what the streets pretty much glorify. But I went to jail, met Troy Mack. I remember the first day I made it there. He was like, asked me how much time I had. I said, I got 3 years. Oh, he said, oh, you short. And I was like, man, I'm short. I'm like, man, I'm just starting this. But little did I know that he was telling me that, man, I've been here 17 years. You know, he had been there a very long time. So he was saying, like, the little time I had, it wasn't a mirror compared to the time he had. You know, so as time went on, and I really got to see the people that the inmates at the jailhouse I was at. And I was on a dorm where they had a lot of real credible people that had been doing that did a lot. And I wasn't really supposed to be on the tier I was on because it was a lot of hardened criminals. It wasn't nothing for first timers, you know. So, but they put me on this tier. I remember I was at Dixon Correctional Institute, and I was like on Dome H, and all the people that was on Dome H was like people from Angola. That's LSP, Louisiana State Penitentiary. So these guys were like hard hitters because they was like they had been down for long periods of time, you know. But I ended up on the same tier with some of these people, so they kind of gravitated to me because they knew I probably wasn't even supposed to be there. They knew I was supposed to probably be on another little dorm or something like that as far as like first timers. But I thank God I made it on the same tier they was on because I was protected by people like Troy, Alvin, Mack, my partner Derek Pitcher, because they had been there for a while, Frog, you know. But it was like, I thank God I ended up with the people that from my hood because it's like my partner Frog, Derek Pitcher, Troy, Alvin, Mack, you know. And I had a lot of people from New Orleans that was in the dorm with me, Gilly Boy, you know, Gus Young, you know. So it was like a lot of people that was real credibles. But to make a long story short, I survived being with the people that I was on the tier with because they like gravitated to me and they knew that I wasn't even supposed to be there. But I think like it was a big lesson for me because I was with a lot of hardened criminals that was down for a very long time. Some for murders, heroin charges, and you know, different charges that really got them a lot of time. But as I really josed and did my time, jose, definition of jose, we people in the streets say jose, but it really means doing time. So as I like did my time and got to know people and did my thing, I was always exposed to people getting shanked up. That means stabbed, you know, killings and what nature, you know. But I always survived, you know. And I learned a lot while I was there. By being a young guy, being there, I learned a lot. I learned what not to do and what I could do. But I just thank God that he protected me throughout everything I went through. Because when I was in the cell, I witnessed a lot go on from the most hardened criminals. But I like to share with the people that may be younger than me, such as young kids or teenagers or people, young adults that want to go that road or headed to that road, you know. But I never thought I'd make it to that, see that kind of stuff, because my mama didn't raise me to be that type of individual. She always raised me to have the best of clothing, you know. They always wanted me to get my education and do the things that she wanted me to do, but I chose the streets. And the results of me choosing the streets, the consequences was jail time. So I got sentenced to 3 years in prison. I went up the road, and you know, I was doing some things that I probably shouldn't even been doing, because if I had chose the right path and did the right things that my mother always instilled me to do, I would have never went that road, you know. But the most hurting part that I ever witnessed when I went to jail was seeing my mother at a visit, you know. And I can clearly remember when I went to the visiting shed to see my mother, you know. I was kind of embarrassed about the fact that I had let her down. I had went to a place where I know I didn't have to be. So I can remember me walking into the visiting shed to visit my mother. She had her head up high. She was trying to show me that she was there for me in spite of what I had did her. But I can kind of visualize the hurt that I had caused too. So it made me have an ill feel towards jail because I knew I had sent my mother through something that I never should have sent her through. They had church, and I remember the visit. The visit went well, and I remember just leaving the visiting shed. I remember watching my mama clean out her sight. I always just visualized her just leaving the place, and I just watched her as far as my eyes could take me. I was hurting. I watched her every mile of the way. And when in DCI, where I was locked up at, it was like you could see your parents leave because they had one of this chute to where you can watch them leave out the parking lot and take a long road going back to, Baton Rouge where I was from. But I remember watching my mama clear out of sight till I couldn't see her anymore. And when she got out of my sight, I remember just being heartbroken, So I was like, I went to church because we got church in every facility, every jail, like where I was at, because I was like in DOC, and every jail has a church. And my partner Alvin Troy Mack, which was doing a life sentence, I remember him clearly telling me, Dexter, he said, if you come back up here again, don't look for me. He said, because when I see your mama, she a strong black woman. She have her head up high. She be like, I'm coming to see my son no matter what he did. And he said, if you come back up here, don't look for me. Because you got your mama Joseph and she didn't do nothing. Now keep in mind, Joseph in street terminology, it means doing time. But what he was telling me, you got your mama doing time and she didn't do nothing. And that played on me for a very long time because it was like, I sent my mama through something that I really didn't have to do. And that played on me dearly, So I want to tell every youngster, everybody that's a child that's out there, you might be selling drugs, you might be robbing, you might be what you call thugging. You might be thinking that you're doing everything that people do as far as the streets. But let me flip mode on you and tell you the other side. When you go into the public corrections and you joust, when you do time, you're going to put other people at jeopardy too because they going to be doing time too. I had my mama doing time and she never did nothing to deserve it. So if you out there doing some of the things that I did and other people did to cause pain to their mother, father, grandmothers, and people that love them, I just want you to consider what you're doing because the flip side is no one told me that the pain that I would hurt other people, such as my grandmother, father, brother, sister, grandmother. I know some people have sons and daughters, people that love them dearly. Because if you go to prison, they jost too. They doing time too. So I just want you to be aware of what you're doing, your people, aware of the roads you're taking. Because the roads you're taking, some people may not have told you where it's going to lead to. Mine led me to the Department of Corrections. And if I can help anyone along the way and tell them that, hey, you don't have to even take that route. All you have to do is get a job, go to school, or get a further education and do the right things. You want to take the route that I took. My mama didn't deserve it because she raised me right. She did all the proper things to make sure that her son was straight. But I chose the street life. And the street life is not going to tell you where the road might end. Because the road that you might choose is Department of Correction, jail, penitentiary, some people may call it. But you're not promised to come home when you go to penitentiary because you could get shanked up, killed, or you could be killed in your sleep. I visualize a lot of things happening to people right in the same section I lived in. So I just want to tell you, when you're out thugging it or doing the things that you think that's street, I want to just tell you about the road that you might be headed on, because nobody told me about the road. I had to go learn for myself. And when I learned for myself, I seen a lot of people lose their lives right in front of my eyes. I seen people, just commit, just doing all the illest things ever, commit suicides, get shanked up in their sleep, get scarred with things, just people just taking advantage of them in there, So I just want to just tell the people that's out there that call themselves street. You living in the street, you thugging, so they might say. I just want to let you know, I hope you know what road you on. Because I hope you understand what the road is leading to that you own. So I just want to reach somebody out with this message, because if you're just doing the right things out there and working, furthering your education, doing the proper things, you should never have to go to jail. You should never have to go to prison. You should never have to go to the penitentiary. Whatever name you have for it is jail. So I just want to reach out and tell some people about some things that I encountered while I was there, because I just know that I just really let my mama down. And I saw the look on her face when I made it to that place, because even though she was really trying to be a strong woman, I could see in her eyes where I really hurt her. The visiting jail. That's what the people that you out in the street and thugging it, they're not going to tell you that part. So I just want to share with the people that got kids. I hope they should just share this video with them, because, hey, if you thugging it and loving it, I just want you to let you know where it might end up. And just to see your mother behind prison walls, and just to see your mother leave you, and you can't go home with her. Certain holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and all the holiday birthdays, what's the worst days, and just to see all the things that I miss. I used to call, just frequently just walk around the yard. That's where people lift weights at and just did recreation things and just try to get their bodies in shape. I wasn't really like a real serious weightlifter, but I may mess around here and there. But I often just walk around the compound, just visualizing the fence, the razor barbed wire fence, to where they'd cut you 3 different ways if you ass try to go over the fence, But I just didn't really want to be there. But I put myself in that predicament, so I had to live and become a man and do the right things, because I could never let nobody take advantage of me, because I always knew that I had to be a man, do the right proper things, and the people that was in my corner, they always told me I could survive, and I just listened to the things they told me. But everybody that was in the place I was at, that wasn't fortunate as me. They didn't make it home. They got killed in the facilities, and parents had to bury them, So I just want to share with some people that think they thugging and loving it, they gangsters, or might be thinking they thugs, or may just be thinking like the streets owe them something. Man, I left the streets, didn't have to leave the streets, thought the streets was everything, until I ended up the road, as they say. Road leads up to penitentiary, jail, prison, whatever name you want to call it, That's where you're going to end up if you just keep on the roads you're on. And the flip side is the pain you cause to other people, your mother, your father. If you got kids, I was fortunate didn't have any kids. I made my mistakes before I had my kids, so that was a blessing side of it for me, because I never would want to see my kids do that. I never would want to see my kids come visit me in prison, But the people that I was in there with, some of them had life sentences, and they knew they were never coming home. So they always told me the most concrete things. And I still think on some of them. Some died while I was home. When I first came home, I remember my mama going to Troy Mack's funeral. because he died. He did 18 years flat and died in prison. I couldn't really go to the funeral because I was home trying to get my license back. I had a class to take, like I remember clearly. But my mama went there and took pictures of Troy. And I still got the pictures to show, that and it was a reminder for me that if you get a life sentence, some people call that the alphabets. If you get alphabets, you're going to die in prison. You never will see the streets again unless you in a cardboard box or pine wood box or whatever your family got to bury you in. So, I was able to see people that lost their lives in prison. They was always telling me all the pros and cons and never come back to prison. Never send your mother through that again, Dexter. And it was a lot of things that they always told me. But the lesson was real good because I learned a lot through that. I know that I learned that going to prison wasn't necessary. It wasn't for me. And had I done all the right things, I would have never saw prison. So I'd like you to share this with your kids or somebody that's on the wrong road or may end up in the same place I went. And that's prison. That's the penitentiary. That's jail. That's whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing to me because once you're behind the razor barbed wire fence, your life is taken, put on hold until you reach whatever time that you have. That's hard. You sentenced to hard labor. You're going to work every day you in there. And when you see your friends and people, and that's another thing I learned. Some of the friends that you have, some of the friends that you ran with while you was on the streets, that's the same people that left you in there. Never visit you, never wrote you a letter, never even checked on your mother while you was gone. So I just want to say to everybody that has a kid that's going in that direction, I hope they pass this video on to you because your friends will never tell you that part, that what it's like in jail. Because when you're in there, you're a number. I was 17, 20, 58. I picked my first charge up in probably about 1989, and I had a low number. Everybody else had like 31s and 3 numbers. Mine was 1728. And when they called me to get a letter or they wanted to address me, they never called me by my name. They always called me by 17, 20, 58. Because everybody always told me, when you go to jail, you're nothing but a number. Don't allow yourself to be a number. You want to be called by your name. So if this video means anything to you, you want to work, follow your education, don't send your family through all the hassles and heartaches. So I just challenge and encourage everyone that's listening to this that want to be a gangster, they want to sell drugs, they want to rob, they want to steal, they want to kill. Did anyone ever stop to tell you where you may end up? Hey, what number you gonna get? I'm 17, 20, 58. I got an old DOC number, but they never called me by my name. They always addressed me by 17, 20, 58. Until the day I came home. So, is that the route you want to take? That's the life you want to live? I'm just trying to encourage anyone that's stuck in it, loving it, or he might be in the streets. The streets gonna outlive you. If you get killed in the streets, they gonna still be there. They gonna repave them. They gonna do whatever it takes to keep that street up to par. Or you would not be able to outlast the streets. So if you out doing things that you know that ain't right, you know they're not worthy, hey, I just want to encourage you. Did anybody tell you about the outcome, where that road may lead you to? Prison, jail, penitentiary, But I thank God I survived. I survived so I could tell some people like you where the road may lead you to, So I just wanted you to be encouraged. And if you out here giving your mama and father heartaches, going back and forth to jail. I just want to let you know, one day the judge gonna get tired of seeing you, and he gonna send you up the road. And when you get up the road, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm telling you about. But I'm trying to prevent you from even going that road. I'm trying to prevent you from even having to take that route, from getting a number. Cause I was 17, 20, 58. I remember it like they gave it to me. I'll never forget, but had I listened to my mother, did all the right things, I would have never saw that. I would have never went to the pen, as they say. I'd have never got addressed by a number, but I chose that route. And by the grace of God, I was able to make it home. So I just want to let you know that, are you aware of the road you own? Where that road going to take you to? It's going to take you to success, or it's going to take you to the pen. Because once you get to the pen, you're not guaranteed to come home. But I just want to share that with some of the kids out there, some of the teenagers, some of the young adults that ain't doing the right things. But if you see your mother in that situation, it's not going to be a very happy feeling. You're not going to like what you see. You probably watch your mother clean out the gates. And, you're not promised to come home. If you're at home, stay at home. Do the right things. And make your mother proud. Don't ever have to send her to that walk. Because when you're up there, there's a lot of complications they have to go to visit you. Strip searching. Looking between their toes and everything they have. Just to see you from you making a mistake. So it's bigger out here. Stay out here. Do the right things. And I just want to share this message with somebody. And if you got a kid that's out there that's doing the wrong things, pass it along. Let them hear what I have to say. Because I put it out there for a reason. Because I love kids now. And I just want to be an advocate for people that's doing the wrong things. I do it on my job constantly. I constantly tell kids about what I've been through. What a road will take you to if you're doing the wrong things. That's part of my job. That's part of God's plan. Because I always do it. So if you got a kid that's out there that's doing the wrong things, or if you're doing some of the wrong things, are you aware of where that road may take you to? So I just want to share that with you. I just want to encourage everybody to just keep God number one. Keep your eyes on the prize. That's Him. Do the right things. Stay on the right road, because the other road gonna lead you, to the pen. So I just want to encourage somebody. I love you. To the next time we see you again, keep your head up, keep God first, and continue to be on the right path. Until the next time.